Hello, my name is Exxabite, and today I am going to be doing a tier list of all of the commands in Minecraft. Now, if you don't know what a tier list is, it's essentially where you take a bunch of things and then rank them based on tiers, based on essentially how useful they are or how much you like them. So for me, I'm going to be doing a tier list of all of the different commands in Minecraft. Now, first up, we have the weather command. It's not super useful. I mostly use it to get rid of rain whenever it starts raining. Next, we have world border, which is, yeah, to be honest, like all you use it for is adjusting the size of the world border, which, yeah, I hardly ever do that. We have effect. Let's see, that would be probably, I'd say a B. That one's useful for just granting effects and stuff. Yeah, I don't use it a whole lot because I don't deal with effects too much, but it's definitely pretty useful. Got enchant. I think this one's also a B. It's a pretty easy way to enchant the item that you're currently holding, if you don't want to like make the item and do all that stuff. It's got experience. Yeah, not really useful. Yeah, I don't really use that one hardly at all. It just gives you XP. Recipe is, yeah, I don't really use this one either. It's probably an F. Reload. That one I use a bit more. I actually use it a lot in order to reload data packs, and even though that's about all it does, it'll like reload data packs, that's still something that you'll be doing a lot, and things would be kind of difficult without that command. Replace item. I'd give this one an A, since it allows you to like replace the item that you're currently holding, or even if there's no item, with another item, which is useful seeing as the data command doesn't actually allow you to do that most of the time. So you've got replace item, you've got tag. Now tag actually, like I said, because the data command does not allow you to modify player data, this is useful as it allows you to add tags to entities, including players. Next we have team. I don't know, this one's not, I don't use it a whole lot. I'd give it a C. It's essentially just for managing like teams, which is not something I do very much. Team message. Yeah, I'd also give that one a C. It's not, it essentially just lets you talk to people on your team, but like I said, I don't use that a whole lot. Teleport, right here. Yeah, this one is definitely pretty useful. I'll give it an A. It's very useful for moving around. I usually use it, the alias slash TP. Tel's not very useful. It's essentially just lets you like send a message specifically to a person. Next up we have tell raw. This one is quite a bit more useful as it allows you to format the text and make it like colorful and like present it the way you want. Next we have is time. I mostly use this one because I leave the daylight cycle running even though I don't actually want it running, so I use this a lot in order to constantly set it to day. But yeah, so yeah, I will give this one a C. And then next up we have title. This one is pretty, it allows you to put big text up in front of it, which I don't use a whole lot, but it's definitely useful if you want to get like big important information across. So I'm going to put title as a B. Next up we have trigger, which essentially allows you to make certain types of commands that non-opt players can use, which I think it's not something that I've ever actually done before, but it seems really useful, so I'm going to give this one an A. Next up we have particle. I don't really use this one a whole lot. Essentially just like puts particle effects around you, so I'll give that one a C. Next up, play sound. This one essentially just plays the sound. I'll give that one a C as well. Got publish. Yeah, publish, it essentially just like opens it up to a multiplayer, which is the same thing that pushing this button does, but it does allow you to select the port, so I'll give this one an E. Next up we got advancement. Yeah, it's not really super useful, because I mean, like, most of the time if you're in creative you're not really going to need advancements, and if you're in survival you're not going to be able to use it, so yeah, I'll just give this one an E. We have say, which essentially just allows you to broadcast a message to everyone in the world, which you'd think wouldn't actually be very useful. It's very useful in data packs because you can just do say hi and then know if a function is working. We have schedule, which essentially lets you schedule a certain function to be run at a certain time. I really haven't used this one, but it seems pretty useful, so I'll put it at B. Next we have scoreboard, and that one is actually super useful, so I'm going to give this one an S. Like, scoreboard, you can use that one for all sorts of things, and pretty much anything involving math you're going to need a scoreboard for. Seed, not very useful. It just tells you the seed of the world, which is like something you'll do once. So next up we have set block. Set block is pretty useful. It's useful for just setting a certain block to something else, so I'll give it an A. We've got set world spawn, not nearly as useful. I'll give this one an E. We have slash help. This one's pretty useful, like if you want to know like what a command does. I don't really use it too much because I already know what most of the commands do, and I'll usually just Google it if I don't know. But it's useful if you don't know what a command does. We have kick, which this is more of a server command. It'll kick a player out of the world. So I don't use it a whole lot, and this one will probably get an E. Next up we have kill, which I will put as a C. I mean, it's pretty useful for getting rid of mobs that you don't want. Next we have list, which essentially lists all the players. It's not, I don't know, it's not super useful, but you can use it to get UUIDs. We have locate, which essentially detects where the nearest structure or of a certain type, so you can use it to find villages or strongholds or pretty much any type of structure. And this one is actually pretty useful if you want to go find a structure. So I'm going to give this one a. We have loot. Now loot essentially lets you pretend that you mined a certain block with a certain item, and this wouldn't seem to be really useful, but you can actually use this to get items out of certain inventories and into the player's inventory, which when combined with the data command can actually be quite useful. So I'm going to give this one an A. We have XP, which is not really useful. It just lets you set your XP, which if you have access to the command, you really won't need it. Next we have clear. This one is pretty useful. I mean, it lets you get rid of your inventory, but you could do the same thing just by clicking the little X right there. So I'd give that one an E. Next we have clone. This one is actually pretty useful. I don't use it a whole lot, but when I do use it, it's very useful. Boss bar. This one will just put like a Wither or Ender Dragon text display up there, which I don't use a whole lot, but it's definitely very useful if you want to display that type of information up there. So I would give this one a B. Then we have slash me, which I actually had to look up what this one does. It essentially just like is useful for giving like status for like what you're doing, but I didn't even know what this did, and I've never really seen anyone use this ever, so yeah, I'd give that one an F. And then we have message, or MSG, which is essentially the exact same thing as /tell, so I would give that one an F as well. We have a spawn point, which essentially just sets a player's spawn point, which I don't know. I don't think this is a very useful command. It's not one that I'll use a whole lot, so I'll give this one an E. Next we have spread players. This essentially just spreads players all across the world, like within a given radius. Not one that I use a whole lot. So I'm sure it definitely has its very specific use. So I'll give this one a C. We have stop sound, which, to be honest, it's not very useful. It's used stop sounds, but I've never really used that command. We have summon. This is a very useful command, which it's essentially just used to summon entities, and you can summon them with all sorts of different NBT data, so yeah, that's very useful. We can have data. Now this is a very useful command that I actually didn't fully realize how useful it was when I first heard about it, but data, like you use this for all sorts of stuff, so I would definitely give this one an S. We have data pack, which is essentially used to turn on and off data packs, so it's fairly useful. I'd give this one a C. We have debug, which this one is pretty much just used to determine like how well things are running, so like you use it to detect efficiency, so I'd give this one a C. Default game mode, which is not really useful. Like I never use this one. I'll give that one an F. Difficulty, again, I don't really use this one at all. I'll give that one an F. Fill, now this one is definitely very useful, so I'll give that one an A. Force load, which I don't really use this one. I don't like it's useful for like loading in chunks, but I mean if you're gonna have access to this command, you're probably not going to be like needing to run farms, and then if you are in survival, then you're not gonna, and if you're just running command blocks, then you should probably just be using a data pack, so it's not very useful. Function, this one is definitely very useful. It's used for running functions. You'll use it all the time in data packs, so it's definitely an A. Game mode, this one is useful for setting your game mode. That's pretty much all it does. I'll give this one a B. Then we have execute up here, and this is another one of those, like this is probably like, I would say this is like the single most useful command in Minecraft, right? The execute command, like you'll use it like for all sorts of stuff, and like to run commands as entities and like at certain places, and yeah, the execute is definitely I would rate it as the most useful command right there. So definitely a solid S for execute. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm pretty sure I got all the commands, though I might have missed a few, but if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more, then subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss any of my videos. And I'll see you next time. Bye!